And I want one or two young boys and girls to answer because I'm addressing that public. Yes.
So Manoj, thank you for such enlightening thoughts. From a leader like you, I think it becomes very engrossing and really has an impact. What I wanted to understand from you is that you have seen Airtel from the very beginning, and you would have been around for a long time. How did the culture set in of high performance in Airtel? It must have been different when Airtel would have begun its journey. So how did this journey go by? What were the really catalysts and triggers, conscious or unconscious, which happened due to which Airtel is what it is now?
Okay, that's a very long answer. So I can't give you a long answer today, but I'll put it as crisply as possible. Airtel is built by people. Airtel is not built by technology or money. It is built by people and it is led by an entrepreneur, first generation entrepreneur. People like me brought in professional culture, professional approach to it, and that's where we are. But the key thing is, it is built by people, not by anything else. And what we did was, we fully energized the people. Let me go back 15 years when we were very small, this smaller company, and we were the smallest company amongst all our competitors. We beat all the competitors over the next 5-7 years only because our people were passionate, our people were hungry, our people were open to do what they were free to do, empowered to do what they wanted to do. Our people were fully engaged. We did huge amount of developmental activities. We did huge amount of celebrations. Actually, one of the things Sunil and me always did was celebrate. Small successes were celebrated. I remember there was a small success in Chandigarh. I used to be there that night. A small success in Bangalore and Ahmedabad, in Chennai, in Guwahati. We used to be there. We used to be with the employees, recognize them, reward them, dance with them. Of course, many people, some people drank a lot also. But I'm just saying, it was a family. It was a happy, energized, high performance family. And high performance, yes, was part of our goals and objectives, but actually it came from bottom. It was not thrust from the top. Yes, we said, okay, we need to do 100, but what was coming from the bottom was 120. Because we actually made the employees owners of the goals, owners of what we need to do, and that was very spontaneous. And you're right, it's not easy to do that. You need to be very secure as senior manager to do it. And luckily we could do it. God was with us.
My first is that typically there is for all leaders a quarter-on-quarter, Q-on-Q focus. But there are a lot of things that need to be long-term as well. How as a leader do you create that balance so that there is a focus long-term as well as Q-on-Q? That's the first question. The second is, I'm sure in the telecom industry now there is a move from voice to data. And that means a huge cultural change and a shift across an entire workforce. So how are you all dealing with it? And my third question, and I can repeat them if you'd need me to, is what do you look for primarily from your HR professional so that all the people present here could know what are the things we should keep in mind as we assist our leaders and continue to be significant and do not move into oblivion?
Thank you. All three questions are good questions. Okay, let me start. First one is a very tough game. Balancing long-term and short-term. Very tough game, let me tell you. For a listed company like us, where we are measured so acutely on our performance or non-performance every quarter. So it's just a balancing act. You need to be a trapeze artist to stick to the long-term goals of talent acquisition, talent retention, and at the same time pound down on performance every day. So we converted the business into a daily affair. Hence, every day's performance was important. Every evening we were getting reports. Next day morning, corrections were taking place. So it was not a weekly or a monthly performance enhancement. And people loved it. Yes, it was very intense. We got used to working overtime, but it was very exciting. Some people got burnt out, I know, but some people were fine. I think majority of the people enjoyed it. So balance is important. Long term is very, very important. And I think because we took care of the long term, today we are able to sustain a highest competitive intensity of 13 operators in one market. There's no other market in the world where the prices are at lowest, 35 paisa, and there are 13 operators serving the market. We could actually survive the last 5 years only because we always took care of long-term foundations, long-term goals. But short-term, so basically what we did was we broke up the marathon into 400 meters race. So we ran 400 meter fast, then we ran the next 400 meter fast, then we ran the next 400 meters fast, and broke up it is a marathon. You can't.
Long-term and a separate?
No. That's the art which we converted into science, that people who made strategies also executed strategies. Hence, we do not like consultants and advisors in our company. Consultants are very upset with Airtel that we don't give them too much business, because we believe that it is leadership role, senior manager's role, to build a strategy and execute a strategy. Then they can't blame somebody else that the strategy was made by somebody else. So that was your first question. Second question was?
What's the data shift?
Yeah, this is a very, very big shift, extremely big shift, because our whole focus was on voice, and now maybe 80-20. Now as we go ahead, 80% focus is on data, 20% focus is on voice, which is a huge shift. And so there are three big major shifts we do. One is a shift in network. So networks have to change from voice networks to data networks. So huge amount of investment in fiber, in 3G, 4G, etc. So that's one. Second is our IT systems have to be completely upgraded. You don't know, we invest millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on IT, because if you make a call or if you reply to a mail at midnight, you are billed instantly. It is an instant billing system, which is no other industry in the world does it. So I think IT systems have to be upgraded, because data usage is massive. You don't realize it, how much data you are using every day compared to, let's say, 3 years back or 5 years back. And third change which we did was to educate our employees. So luckily employees are well educated now, especially young employees are self-educated. We don't have to educate them, but older employees are educated and they understand that this shift is critical for us, because of this data shift, the company is able to grow fast. And your third question was? Now, we have a different view. We feel that all senior managers are HR managers. So we don't leave people to HR. So we are different from other companies. For example, my job was HR, my director's job was HR, my business manager's role was HR. All of us were HR managers. HR's job is to support the general managers and be a fantastic business support, HR support to them, and have policies which are consistent, which are fair. Those policies are not made by general managers. The policies are made by HR. And they not only make the policies, they track the policies, they monitor, they measure at the end of 6 months, at the end of 12 months. So HR job is very, very important. I believe that HR should take a large credit of success of HR. But not as a direct people management, because direct people management was left to the general manager. If the motivation level of, let's say, Tamil Nadu is low, or if the motivation level of Kenya is low, it's not a HR responsibility. It is the general manager's responsibility, because he or she is not doing a good job. So that's where we were a bit different from any other company.
But as you attract talent and you were growing rapidly, so your talent would have come from all over. Not all of them understand that part of your brain needs to be wired as an HR person as well. So how do you inculcate that besides leading by example?
No, it is, leading by example is the most important because I used to spend a lot of time with the people. But new managers would learn the culture within a year. It takes that much time to change yourself, understand, learn. But within a year, I think new managers are all set. They understood the business model, they understood the culture, and they understood performance, they understood people are so important. And we clearly decided that people are number one, customers are number two, and our partners, vendors, suppliers, dealers are number three. We clearly decided. So people were number one priority of the company. So the new managers had to imbibe that culture.
I have a question. Hi, I'm Manoj, I'm Sering. And my question is, what was or is the outlook or mindset that helped you transition or keep up with the times, especially with the changing demographics and expectations at workplace? This question cropped in my mind, especially when you said that you started your career, with the manufacturing industry, and today you're with the most leading industry, that's the telecom, and it's from voice to data.
No, I think you need to be a trainee for life. So I was management trainee in DCM when I started in Dorala, 36 years back, and I'm management trainee for life. I'm learning every day. I was a CEO trainee. When I joined telecom, I didn't know anything about telecom, so I had to learn telecom on the job. But people remained a constant enabler, end to end, whether it was sugar mill or whether it is a telecom company. In any business, any organization, if people enablement is weak, business will fail. So that constant didn't change. But how people need to be dealt with is more situation to situation and individual to individual. How do you motivate individuals is very individualistic. You can't motivate, for example, we had in my company, we have AMB, Airtel Management Board. And I remember 10 years, 12 years back, I built that board into highest quality. My CTO was an American, CIO was an American, CFO was British, my the customer care lady was Italian. We had a global, our enterprise chief was American. We had a global team. So motivating each one of them is a different game. You need to play multiple games of motivating each senior person and even middle level person to the highest performance standards. So you have to know that art. There's some guys, for example, you don't have to motivate, you don't have to follow up. They are so self-motivated and they are so self-sustaining. But there's other guys who need motivation from time to time. The other guys who need follow-up from time to time. Plus, how do you do that? Do you do that in a very rational way or a informal way? So you need to change your tack constantly. So that as a leader you need to know. Not only the senior most leaders but also middle level leaders, because the span of control is 10, 12, whatever, and you need to manage that span of control. Plus, I think you need to be in touch with young people. So we had reverse mentoring in our company. Anyway, I am constantly mentored by my two daughters, so that continues. But we also had reverse mentoring from our young boys and girls who joined our company. Especially on technology, especially on how you leverage new technologies, etc., etc. So I think it's a constant learning journey. You can't say I am learned and hence my word is the last word. Your word is never the last word. Because there are so many things happening across the world which you need to learn. Is that fine? Okay, thanks a lot. I enjoyed the questions. They were tough. And I hope you enjoyed the answers. Thank you.